Welcome to Distilled. I'm Brian Johnson, and today we're bringing you part one of a two-part series in conjunction with Invicta's release of their NFL collection. This is part one. Stay tuned for part two. And we're joined tonight by a very special guest. This is Deitan Dubuc.
Yes, sir.
Good to meet you, Deitan.
Nice to meet you, too.
And we are featuring this week's drink. This is the Flying Cloud Bulldog. Cheers. And what?
À ta santé.
À ta santé. Oh, yes.
Dangerous.
Yes, please. So Deitan, now, first of all, tell us, what was the cheers?
À ta santé in French was to your health, basically.
À ta santé. I like where you're going with this. I'll take all the health I can get at my age. Now, let me ask you, okay, so speaking of French.
Yep.
You're from Canada, is that right?
So I was born in Montreal, Canada, born and raised. Montreal's an island. Right on top of Montreal is another island called Laval, L-A-V-A-L. And I was born in Montreal but raised in Laval. And then I went back to school in Montreal. So
back to school, high school or?
So no. So after high school we go to pre-college. This is where really the real good sports happened. So you have to go to pre-college before you go to college. So the only way I could really compare it with the U.S., basically like junior college, but it's not because I wasn't good in school that I had to go to junior college. It's pre-college. So the first 2 years while you're undecided about your major, you do them in a different school. And when you decide what you want to major in, then you go to college, and it's 2 years to get your degree.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. So you don't waste your time paying a lot of money the first 2 years of college when you don't really know what you want to do.
Sorry, Dad, Mom. Okay, so at what point now, Deitan, as you'll see, and I'm sure probably in the promo you already know this, but Deitan is a former NFL and CFL player.
Back in the days.
So at what point did you start playing football?
So, like I said, I grew up in Montreal. I'm one of 5 children, all 1 year apart. I'm in the middle. And my parents couldn't afford us to play sports because it's so expensive. Okay. So I played soccer my whole life. From the time I was 6 years old to 17, I played soccer. I was a goalie.
You played?
That's all I played.
Okay, tell us, if you don't mind, how tall are you?
Well, I used to be 6'4". I'm probably 6'3.5" now. So at 6'4", I was the smallest.
Hey, I used to be 6'4" too.
I know, right? I'm the smallest guy in my family.
Really?
My brothers are 6'5", 6'7", and 6'8", and I'm 6'4", so I'm the runt. So played soccer, and then at 17, I actually had a girlfriend at the time that was a cheerleader for the football team. And she's like, I think you should try football. I think you'd be good at it. I'm like, I don't know. So I asked my mom, I said, hey, can I play football? She's like, no, you're way too skinny. You're gonna get hurt. And I said, you know what? I'm 18. I think I'm gonna make the decision for myself. And I showed up on a football field knowing nothing, really. And I went in the locker room, and they said, what position would you like to play? I said, I don't really know any other position. I heard of quarterback, receiver, but he's like, well, we just lost our tight end. Would you like to play tight end? I said, what's a tight end? I said, you block, you catch passes. I said, oh, that sounds good. I said, okay, I'll play tight end. And that's how my career kind of started.
And that's how it started when you were 18.
18. So I was a senior in high school. And I have so many stories from that year. I mean, imagine, like I'm playing with a bunch of guys that have been playing for 4, 5, 6 years.
Right.
My first year, right? I'm tall, skinny, fast. That's about it. I knew nothing. I didn't know what other middle linebacker was. I didn't know what the other positions were. So the learning curve was like this, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I got a lot of stories where, like coaches would tell me, say, hey, you need to go block the middle linebacker on this play for the play to work.
Yeah.
And I say, what's a middle linebacker? He said, well, number 55. I said, perfect. So I would go on the field, and 55 would move from middle linebacker to outside linebacker, and I'd go block him, safety blitz, kill our quarterback, and he starts yelling at me. I said, like, you told me to go block number 55, and that's what I did, because I had no idea. Adjustments or defense, how to read defense, I had no idea.
Well, your instincts must have been spectacular, because you
I caught on pretty quickly,
quick,
I would say. Yeah. And then after that first year, I was fortunate enough to go training camp with actually the best pre-college football team. I mean, they must have seen something in me, and they invited me, and that what really truly changed my whole life is playing with that team that it was just like undefeated, and we won 2 championships in the last 3 years, and that's from there really is what I was an all-star after my second year, and my head coach was friends with the head coach at the University of Michigan, Lord Carr.
Okay.
And every year he would take all the best football players out of Quebec, drive to Ann Arbor, Michigan for a 1-week football camp. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go. And again, I don't speak English. At that time, I'm probably 210 pounds maybe. And I go over there. I'm a little older. I would say most kids that were there were about 18 years old, and I was like 19, 20, you know. And the second day in, I mean, I was in the head coach's office, and they were offering me a full scholarship. Well, prior to that, for the day and a half, I kept switching group, and I was just, I mean, the quarterback would draw the plays on his on the ball before I would go because I didn't speak English.
In pre-college?
No, at the
Michigan?
camp. At the camp, yeah, the football
Michigan.
camp.
Okay.
Because they have a bunch of quarterbacks from over the country
Yeah.
there trying to get
So
a
they
scholarship.
were drawing it on their hands?
Yeah, on their hands because they knew I didn't speak English.
Oh, wow.
And I would go out and just do my thing, and I was just so fast. I ran a 4.42, so I was blowing by everybody.
Yeah.
So to me, it was just fun. And I kept switching group, and I didn't know if it was good or not.
Because you can
Somebody, no, I couldn't speak. So they would grab me from one group to the other, and the next day, that's when I was in the office, the head coach's office, and they offered me a full scholarship. I say, okay, I'll take it. And they're like, go home, talk to your parents. I didn't even live with my parents at the time. I was living with a girlfriend already. Because like I said, I was older, so I was already away from my parents' house. So, but yeah, that was quite the story. By the time I got offered at Michigan, I knew nothing about University of Michigan, Lord Carr, Bo Schembechler, all the history behind the program.
Oh, yeah.
I just knew it was a good school. And when they say full scholarship, it sounded good, right?
Sure.
I get to study for free.
So you had no idea what a big football school you were.
No idea. I just knew it was good.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I just knew it was a good opportunity. That was it. But now the problem is like I got a full scholarship in one hand, but on the other hand, I don't speak English. So the only way I can make this happen is I need to really, really work hard on learning English, passing the SAT, and those were not slam dunks.
And
right?
you didn't read English either.
No.
Wow, that's crazy.
I was one of those kids that I always thought I would never learn English, let alone move to the U.S. and play football in the U.S. I'd played football for 3 years. Like, I was still kind of, learning, and, it was pretty good, but, how do you compare yourself? Canadians, Americans, so I didn't even know what I was getting into, really. I'm able to pass the SAT. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And then what I did is I went to Michigan in May of 1998 to learn English before I started college in August. So they provided me with a tutor. So every day I worked with that tutor. Like I would write composition, right? He would say, like, tell me what you did yesterday. Write about it, But in French and English, it's backwards. So like in English, you'd say like red apple. What in French is apple red. Just like Spanish, right? It's the opposite.
Latin
And we have
languages.
masculine and feminine and all those things. And I remember it as a test called the MeLab test. And every other day, basically, they would give me that test. Because I think like if I didn't pass that test, they couldn't admit me at the University of Michigan.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I didn't know that. I thought because they offered me a scholarship, it's a done deal. I'm going to that school.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't work that way. You still have to be a student. And Michigan is one of the best public universities in the country.
Incredible
And
education.
it's really hard to get in. Because in my mind, I thought it was a done deal. But I realized pretty quickly that it was not. So I took that test, I don't know how many times, probably half a dozen times. And every time I would get like 50, 55% because I didn't really understand what I was reading, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I think we were like late July, and I was still not admitted in school. And I told my tutor, I say, you need to get me a meeting with the head of admission. And he's like, that's not how it works. I said, well, that's how it's going to work. I was 20, was I 21? Yeah, I was 21 at the time. I said, I have this great opportunity. I know I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to work hard. I'm not dumb. I just don't understand what I'm reading.
Sure.
Finally, I got a meeting with the head of admission, and I explained the whole story. And I explained to him my plan, what I'm going to do, how the last thing I want is to go home as a failure and messing up with this great opportunity. And he signed off on it and basically said, like, this could be my career, like allowing somebody to get in without passing some prerequisite.
Yeah.
And I was My freshman,
they took a big chance.
they took a big chance, but I knew that if I had to bet on somebody, I'd bet on me. And I was All-American my freshman year. I had a 3.9 GPA. Then I was all Big Ten academic 4 years in a row. I graduated distinction from Michigan. So I met him, I think like 2-3 years later.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, and I reminded him of that story that please remember that when you do get international students, give them a chance, right? He took a chance on me and it ended up okay, right? So hopefully he followed through with what he said he would do. But
That's a good point. And what was your bachelor's degree in?
So because I couldn't really pass the test, the only place they would allow me in was sports management and communication, which is in a kinesiology department.
Okay.
And yeah, I just passed with flying colors, and I knew I never wanted to
do that.
do anything in that, but that's the only place they would allow me. So I always wanted to be a police officer. So Michigan State had criminal justice, but Michigan didn't have a program for criminal justice. So I knew later on I would have to go back to school and finish that if I wanted to be a police officer. So.
And at what point in your college career did it occur to you might want to play in the pros, or did they come to you?
So I would say it took me about 1.5 years to gain the weight, gain the knowledge to be able to play. I mean, I remember my first practice at Michigan. There's no joke. I think I spent more time on my butt than I did on my feet. People were so good, so strong,
fast,
so aggressive.
Yeah.
I was not used to that, right?
Yeah.
And I was down after the first practice. The guy that recruited me was the linebacker coach, Coach Herman. He coached in the NFL for many years later on.
Oh, yeah.
And with the Jets. And anyway, he came to me and said,
Herman
"Hey,
Edwards?
Coach Herman, not Herman Edwards.
Oh, not Herman.
His last name was Herman.
Okay.
And then he said, like, how was practice? I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play here. And I guess like that's kind of the feeling that people do get. And broke my jaw my freshman year, so I redshirted. I didn't play my freshman year. Broke my jaw, it's like September, by a tight end, Campbell, that actually got drafted in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, everybody basically. In my class of 25, I think 22 out of 25 made the NFL. It was nuts. I was part of the #1 class in the country. Michigan had just won the national championship. We were stacked. Tom Brady was on that team. Drew Hansen, that came on with me, actually beat Tom Brady for the starting job. He was the #1 quarterback in the country. Our class was really, really deep. And I just remember being there and being weak. That's what kept popping in my head, how weak I was, how hard it was to learn the plays and the intensity that it was, right?
Yeah.
And I would say 1.5 years later, I went from 214 pounds to 272 in
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, how much
That's
you weigh?
crazy.
217 to 240.
214 to 272. And I settled back down to about 255, 260. But my speed went from like a 4.4 to a 4.8 because I gained so much weight so quickly. And then I settled back down. At the combine, after my senior year, at 255 pounds, I ran a 4.56 at the combine and a 4.58. That was the second fastest time that year. Only Dallas Clark from Iowa that got drafted in the first round by the Colts beat me. Actually, he was a 4.56. I was 4.57 and 4.58 because they didn't believe me. I ran the first time. They say, run again. And I ran again. I ran a 4.58. They're like, all right, he's a legitimate 4.5, 255. And who is this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of what happened. Nobody believed I would ever make the NFL because it took me 1.5 years. And the guy that played in front of me is actually from Minnetonka. Benny Jopru was a second-round draft pick by the Texans in 2002, I believe it was, or 2003. And he played in front of me. So the only time I started a game is when we start with 2 tight ends because he played before me. He was ready before me. As a freshman, he was like 255 pounds. I was 214. Like, these guys were strong.
They were already.
Oh, yeah, they were ready to go. Where I'm from, it's like I was starting to play with weights, kind of. I thought I was pretty good. Nah, I wasn't. I wasn't ready. So I played backup basically my whole career, and obviously nobody thought I would make it. And what I had heard is all the scouts were coming to see Benny Jopru because he was the hotshot tight end. Most catches at Michigan, I think his records still stand. Most catches by a tight end in the history of Michigan. And I played behind that guy, right? And if he was running a 4.6, or lower. Actually, the Colts were drafting him in the first round over Dallas Clark. And he came in and ran a 4.8. I came in and ran a 4.5, just like Dallas Clark, right? And they're like, who's this guy? Like, we're here to see the job prove, but I killed it. I did like 225, like 22 times. I was catching everything thrown at me. I got an agent that day. I was able to go to training camp with the Seahawks, made the team. I started more games with the Seahawks than I did at Michigan in my entire career.
So you peaked at the perfect.
Oh yeah, perfect time. But I always knew that I was ready.
And you probably didn't have as many injuries.
Correct.
Like,
broken jaw. That was it, really.
Yeah.
At Michigan, but
so
I always knew I was ready.
Your knees were in good shape.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always knew I could play.
Yeah.
It's just, sometimes like being in the right system, in the right place at the right time, and when your opportunity comes, you need to seize it. And I teach my kids that from the time they were babies. Nobody cares that you're hurt.
How old are your children?
So my daughter's almost 15, my son's almost 14.
That's beautiful.
And they're both like super athlete, and I'm a very proud father.
Are they both tall? Are they both?
So my daughter's 5'8", and my son is almost 5'10" now. But they're just hitting puberty, so.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I didn't grow really till like 17,
Well, my
18.
brothers grew until they were 21. I stopped at 18. At 18, I was 6'4", and I was done.
That was it.
And that's why I'm the shorty. Like, I'm the shortest guy in my family. So. Yep. And when I went to Seahawks, it was Coach Holmgren from the Packers that was there. That guy's big. He played tight end in the NFL, which I had no idea.
I didn't know that either.
He's like 6'5", 270. Like, I met him the first time. When you walk towards somebody, and they look kind of tall and kind of big, but, you don't know. And then you get close to him, and he's got a big old hand. He's like 6'5", 270, and he's the head coach. But, yeah, it was a good time. I made the team for probably 8 hours, and then something happened where they cut me and put me on a practice squad. And then I knew I was right there, right? I could feel it. I had more catches in 3 games in the NFL than I had 5 years at Michigan. That's how I knew I was in the right system. West Coast offense, all about involving the tight end, a lot of passing routes, and a lot of touches. And Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback back then, and him and I just clicked. He's a goofball, and he just loved the French Canadian thing. There was another French Canadian guy with the Seahawks who was a long snapper from McGill University, J.P. Darche, Jean-Philippe Darche, and we're great friends to this day. But it kind of helped that he was there before me because he had a thick accent. He was from Montreal, and there it is, the second French Canadian guy on the same team in the NFL. So it was kind of a good transition.
He broke the mold for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Paved the way.
Yeah.
So at the point you went in the NFL, how long had you been speaking English? I guess like 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, 4.5 years, maybe 5 years. Yeah.
Man, that's impressive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's great.
I'm telling you, learning curves like this, right?
Yeah.
Learning a new language, a new culture. Gaining 50 pounds, learning the plays and being able to play at that high level. It was just what I was not prepared. I think the hardest part is the mental toughness, the mental aspect of the game. Because physically, everybody's gifted. Everybody gets a D1 scholarship is physically gifted. Up here is really what differentiates who's going to make it and who does not, right? Making the right decision, eating right, going to school, being able to day in and day out work as hard as you can to achieve the goal that you're trying to set, right? I think that's where the biggest
priority,
difference.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys better on the street right now. They're not in the NFL. That's some of the guys that are playing in the NFL. But at some point, it gets to a point where some make the right decision and others don't, right? So, yeah.
Wow. So.